Welcome back everyone for the next Karate Kid, Cobra Kai Season 6, Part 3, Watch Party! For over a year now, I have been predicting the imminent return of Hilary Swank, that is to say, Julie Pierce. She had a baby just before Season 6 went into production and was never seen at the set. Not that that means a whole lot. No one saw Elizabeth Shue on set during Season 3, and Yuji's surprise return at the end of Season 4 was a complete shock to everyone who didn't read the Netflix spoiler list, Peter. So just because it didn't leak that she will be back doesn't mean she won't be. In fact, even though I thought she would be back early, which didn't come true, it's looking more clear than ever she will make her return in this final drop. Now look, ever since I've been talking about return, I always get people who say, she has no part in the story. It makes no sense to bring her in, especially now. I get that. There hasn't been any Julie Pierce storyline. In fact, essentially nothing from Karate Kid 4 or The Next Karate Kid has been in the show. We hit on every installment except the last and final Miyagi-verse Karate Kid movie. Except for, well, one caveat. Season 6 provided a small glimpse at a reference to The Next Karate Kid. It wasn't big, but it was there. Right there, in fact. Kyusuke Miyagi. If you didn't know, that was the name they announced in the opening awards ceremony of the fourth movie.
The citation will be accepted on our behalf by Sergeant Keisuke Miyagi and Mrs. Louisa Pierce.
It was quick, but that is different than the Nariyoshi Miyagi the show has gone with since Season 1. That is a discrepancy that will ultimately be answered in Part 3. In fact, that is the question that will almost certainly lead Daniel to Julie Pierce. Now, there is a little confusion as to whether Daniel even knows who Julie Pierce is. However, this was actually answered in an interview way back in Season 1. We can see it quoted in various old movie websites. Producers told Slash Film that Daniel and Julie definitely know each other. They were both very important to Mr. Miyagi, Hurwitz said. We have not yet reached out to Julie Pierce, but we do think about her as somebody who is part of the Karate Kid canon and who could exist in the world of Cobra Kai. Heald added that all four movies have Miyagi in them as a through line. Now that interview happened way back in 2018 in the run-up to Season 1 drop. It was also new and the show obviously had a long way to go. I think the key thing to focus on is that Hurwitz said Daniel and Julie were both important to Miyagi. That makes sense. Mr. Miyagi was proud of Julie-san. She trained hard and overcame her issues. She embraced Miyagi-Do and found balance. That is not something he would keep secret. Yes, we now know Mr. Miyagi kept all sorts of secrets, but Julie Pierce is not, nor has ever been one of them. You don't hide what you're proud of, and Mr. Miyagi was proud of her. As it is, the things he did hide were the stuff he didn't want to be known. So the connection is right there. Daniel has been wondering and struggling with the secrets of this Miyagi box. He learned of a robbery and that Mr. Miyagi fled the country. He also realized Miyagi fought in the Sekai Kai, probably while he was out of the country. That was perhaps an even bigger shock. Miyagi had no desire to fight in tournaments. He thought karate should only be to defend yourself. That's quite a discrepancy, not to mention the revelation that Miyagi killed a guy in a match. Daniel is lost and confused by all this. He explores every avenue and is looking under every rock, but is finding nothing except the inside of a dog cage. He is gonna have to switch tactics. At some point, he will reach out to the only other person who knew him. He will reach out to Julie Pierce. Honestly, Julie Pierce is the missing piece to this Miyagi box. Now, before Season 6 started, I had other ideas and theories as to what would bring her back. My favorite back then was that they would need a female sensei for the Sekai Kai. While I liked that idea, and frankly it seemed that most every dojo there actually did have both a male and female sensei, that ultimately didn't come up. What did come up is the Miyagi box and the path it set Daniel down. That path is going to have to lead him to Julie, and the name makes the most sense. We can only assume Julie's whole family knows Mr. Miyagi as Kyusuke Miyagi. That is the name he fought under in the war and what Jack Pierce knew him as. As they were close, that is what her grandmother knew him by as well. Then that extends to Julie. It's actually likely this probably comes up on accident. Perhaps Daniel's calling her and mentions the difference in name and she is confused. Kyusuke is his name, not Nariyoshi. They never realized it before because, frankly, they always just called him Mr. Miyagi. This will ultimately lead her to coming to the valley so they can explore the past together. Now, before I go any further, I have to address another frequent question. That is, Hilary Swank denied being in the show. First off, even if she did do that, there's absolutely no reason you should believe her. It's like when Andrew Garfield kept denying he was in Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, he was lying, but it's important to realize he had to lie. Like, until the moment Hilary Swank is announced as being in the show, she has no choice but to deny it. Her return is going to be a surprise, or at least some sort of event. She has to play it off. Though honestly, she actually just said, "I don't think I am," which is totally circumventing the question. So for the love of Kai, use some critical thinking. A person who is not allowed to answer a question yes, because it has to be a secret, then will always fiddle around the answer. To use an analogy, you're invited to a surprise birthday party for your friend this Saturday. Then that friend mentions his birthday is coming up, he didn't make any plans, but are you free to hang out Saturday? You can't reply, "I'm going to your surprise birthday party, idiot." No, you have to act like you're busy, maybe another time. That way you keep the secret. It's the same here. Now what Julie Pierce actually adds to the show is they learn why the name was changed. I tend to suspect Miyagi had to use a second identity to get into the army in the 442nd. In real life, it was only open to natural-born American citizens. A very recent immigrant from Okinawa would have never been admitted or even considered. I strongly suspect Jack Pierce may have been instrumental in helping him get by. Perhaps he ignored the accent and such, which would be giveaways that he was an immigrant. That is something Julie could find out searching through old letters or something of that sort. Now, Julie Pierce can't return to the franchise just to serve as a solver of the Miyagi question. She has to get involved, get into a fight. Let's see that Miyagi-Do training pay off once more. Now, for the longest time, I thought Julie Pierce would fight Kim Da-Eun. I mean, it made sense, right? The ultimate Cobra Kai woman fights the premier Miyagi-Do woman. However, those theories were in relation to the Sekai Taikai, and frankly, after the death of Quan, I'm not sure how much more Kim Da-Eun will push forward. She is committed to the cause, but I don't see how she ends up fighting Julie Pierce. Though honestly, she needs some fight as well, but that's another video. So if those two aren't fighting each other, I admit I'm at a loss for who Pierce will fight. I can easily imagine some do-bads harassing Sam and Tori, that Julie Pierce steps in and they all fight together. Come to think of it, an all-girl fight seems kind of likely, as such lineups are to the sensibilities of modern Netflix Hollywood types. That immediately implies Julie Pierce connects with the girls, and perhaps a separate storyline than the Miyagi one. If she sticks around for 3 episodes or so, I definitely think that is possible. She could help Tori get her focus and back on track. Who they fight? Well, maybe the Russian bad girls from the Sekai Taikai? That is possible. They're definitely the fighting type as we saw in part 2. Otherwise, some sorority girl undesirables is the next best guess. Ultimately, we'll know more as the marketing picks up. I do think Hilary Swank's return will be announced before part 3 drops. She's too big a star to keep secret. Will she get her own promo, or is she just showing up in the trailer? We'll have to wait and see. Make sure you're subscribed because everything is about to get very intense. Have a great day. I'll see you at the next watch party.